Scrapwood challenge, scrapwood challenge. It's crap, it's firewood, but some of the wood is good.
I'll put that aside, and while the glue's setting, I'll start making the cutter. For the cutter you need nothing more than a chisel. A 10 or 12mm will probably be what you'd want. The handle will make the router a little bit unbalanced, so if you've got an old chisel you could cut it off and use that as a dedicated cutter for the router. I'm going to make my own cutter, and I've got these scrap pieces of 1075 steel from knives that I've made. Another option is to make one out of an old file, an old plane blade, or any other type of high carbon steel that you can think of. Some of you may remember Fergus the Forge Pig. He hasn't been used for a while, and I thought it'd be perfect for this project, just to show that you don't need fancy equipment or an expensive forge to be able to heat treat a small blade like this, and he's very cheap and very easy to make. It gives you a chance to try this sort of thing out, and if you like it you can always build a better forge later on. I'm heating it till the end's cherry red. I only need to harden the last inch or so, and then I'll check with the magnet, and when it loses its magneticity that means it's at the right temperature, and I'll quench it in vegetable oil. The blade now could be sharpened, but it would be very brittle and it would more than likely chip, so what we do now is we temper it, and that adds some strength back into the blade. And to temper it, it just needs to go in the oven for a couple of hours at 210 degrees centigrade. That was easy enough, but as I said earlier, if you prefer you could just use a chisel. Now we'll get on to the scrapwood part of the video and start making the router body. Before I pull this apart and discard the top bit, I'm going to make use of it because I need to put it in the vise. And what I need to do that for is I'm going to carve out a depression in the back, and that's to put your thumbs. You don't need to do that, but it'll be more comfortable that way. The marking for it is actually on the template here. Even though that's on the top, I need to transfer that to the bottom. You could print another template, but I'm just going to carry it on round. And I'm just going to eyeball it and do what I think looks about right. That's pretty tough to get apart, and it just goes to show that hot glue is really actually pretty good, because there isn't even much glue left there, I don't think, but I should be able to work a knife, there we go, around and get it off. So that was only a few dabs, and there was no way I was going to do it without a bit of leverage. Keep testing it and make sure that it feels comfortable in your hands. I need to make this depression on the back a bit wider, and I'm going to round these corners off. But apart from that, it's feeling pretty good. Now I need to secure the blade, and I'm going to do that with this stainless steel bolt. But first of all, I'm going to round it off, and then I'm going to have a go at knurling it by hand. It's a very crude method. You probably saw it in my marking gauge video. It's not perfect, but it sort of works. And the idea is we'll clamp a file against the head of the bolt, and we'll put a bit of pressure on there. Then we'll hit the file, and the file will slide through the vise. And as it does, it'll rotate the head of the bolt and leave an imprint of the file on there. And it doesn't look too bad. It sort of works. So you need a couple of pieces of tin, one for the file to slide against and the other one to protect the knurling that we've just made on the head. So I'll just clamp that up. Put a fair bit of pressure on there, but not too much, and use an old file because there's every chance it may break. Just eyeballing the centre, and somewhere around the centre there we'll drill a hole and tap it. A router plane is used to clean up and level any type of recess that requires a uniform depth, like a dado or a shallow mortise, or even a recess for a hinge. I like the design and I'm happy with it, but there's one improvement needs doing. The blade here needs a little bit more support, and I could have done that by drilling this hole smaller. I'll change the template and I'll remake it. What's happening is the blade is sticking out a bit too far and it's chattering. It does work, but it will work better, and I'm confident that will fix it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.